Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Insight Podcast. We are back for the second half of our interview with neuropsychological assessment and psychology expert and president of the Los Angeles County Psychological Association, Dr. Cris Scaglione. Welcome back, Dr. Cris.
Thank you.
Dr. Cris gave us some really invaluable insight and perspective into her inspiration and work in neuropsychology. We cannot wait to learn more, especially about her work with LACPA. So I am going to start with the obvious elephant in the room of January 2025, Los Angeles. Unless you were living under a rock, we experienced the absolute worst wildfire in all of California history. And that was probably one of the scariest things that we've ever witnessed, ever been through. Talk about your hopes about LACPA in terms of its response to this wildfire and what you want the organization to do for the community that is so in need right now.
Well, you were a huge part of the response. What I'm hoping for is that, as any disaster can be, it's also potentially an opportunity for us to reevaluate how we want to be in the community. LACPA is a really interesting organization. It's a professional home for many of us, but there are times when it has been very active in the community, at least for brief periods of time. What I'm hoping that happens is that we become more nimble and more responsive to community needs. And as much as we initially did, both within our organization and in combination with the San Gabriel Valley Psych Association, this community is going to need assistance for years. This ain't over. The tension, the ongoing stress of just dealing with insurance companies.
Yes.
Not being able to get back to your home. And if you do, it's a toxic wasteland, not having a home at all. And the rebuilding. We're going to be in a construction zone for 3 years at least. So the community has a lot of needs now that it never did. Many of the communities that were devastated were wealthy and well-resourced. They still need help. Many of the communities were also not so well-resourced. And they are going to have a much probably tougher road of adjustment for years to come. So what I'm hoping is that we can, as an agency, as an organization, become more active in the community, doing real good. Yeah. Not just saying our hearts and prayers, which we haven't done. But I really dislike it when agencies and organizations do that, when they could, in fact, be doing a lot more. I'm hoping that we can pair with other disaster response agencies like CORE, for instance. I hope that. But one of the difficulties with a professional organization that it really is there for the profession and allows us to get things like legislation passed that's good for practitioners or for the mental health of our communities. And it hasn't been a socially active or social justice-oriented professional organization yet. And I'm hoping that we get more of that. We're also getting younger members, and that's where a lot of our activism comes from. They do have more bandwidth for that at the very least. So that's my hope anyway, that we can continue the active community-based participation that was begun as a result of the fires.
Absolutely. And For those of you who don't know, I'm the co-chair of the Disaster Response Committee. So obviously we kicked into high
you did.
gear in January. I don't think we're as prepared as we needed to be at all, but what we were able to do was band together and get a lot of people trained in psychological first aid. That was our first mission. We gathered resources, and we got out into the community and did donation drives. We are continuing to work with wildfire survivors, right now doing some healing equine events, which have been absolutely magical. And one person really, what they said stuck with me, in that she thought, because it's not in the news cycle anymore, nobody's remembering us. Nobody's even really thinking of us. They think that we've moved on, and we haven't.
No.
And so a question I have for you is, how do we make sure that their voices continue to be heard?
Yeah, that's a good question. That happens all the time. Emergencies are not news cycles. They're two entirely separate things. I think that what I would like to see, in fact, sometime I need to meet with you guys about some ongoing specific action that we take at places that are housing people. I have some students that are music therapists that want to go to these places. You've trained up a lot of people doing psychological first aid. But, it's not just about counseling. This is about, food, hygiene products, things that people need that we could also be more involved in as well. I would like to have us broaden our idea of what mental health is about. If somebody needs a sandwich, I'm not going to talk to them about what it means to not have a sandwich. I'm going to get them a sandwich. And I'm hoping that we do more of that.
Absolutely. I think that there's so much more work to be done. And
yes.
I think it's so important that we just don't ever forget about what this entire city went through. Even if you weren't affected, on a visceral level by the fire, everyone in Los Angeles was affected.
Yep.
And I think what was beautiful was to see, I think Los Angeles has a reputation that's undeserved. This is a city full of extremely caring, open-hearted, giving individuals, and the response was amazing for this wildfire, and we just want to see it continue. So that's a part of your goals for LACPA. What are your other goals? Name a few goals that you would really love to see realized.
Well, it is our 80th anniversary. This organization started right after World War II. It's been through a lot. It's seen a lot. It has evolved a lot. And I would like to have the theme of celebration continued throughout. It was a little tough to start that in January. Nonetheless, we had lots of things to celebrate, and one of them was the thing you just pointed out. Our cities, our counties' response to the need of our citizens, our fellow citizens, our neighbors, was pretty remarkable. I think I would like to be able to help push that as well. I think that joy is something that I would like for us to feel more, to be actively spreading. This goes back a little bit to what I mentioned earlier, and that one of the reasons I went into neuropsychology was seeing that despite considerable hardship and considerable impairment, when people find that core of happiness, that core of joy that's in all of us, it's incredibly fortifying and actually helps people live longer, not better and longer. I'm hoping to promote that as much as possible through various celebrations in conjunction with community events. So, for instance, we're doing an event on, I think it's March the 22nd, to celebrate Nowruz with many, many, many Asian and Middle Eastern cultures. I would like to see a lot more of that, though, that we participate in community events. People begin to know what LACPA is, what psychologists are and what they do, and that they're fun to be around, and that they show up at community events and they show up at community celebrations. I'd like to see more collaborative events between committees and between other kinds of groups, because we share resources, we share ideas, we share budgets, so that we can do more things, perhaps with even sometimes fewer resources.
Yes. So. A few of the committees shared their budget with me, and I was so grateful because we blew through ours really, really fast. So, yes, I absolutely agree. And, really bringing into, we talked about this in the last section, about broadening diversity and inclusion. What do you think needs to be done on the psychological side? Like, we understand we need to get out in the community and we need to be a part of the community. What do psychologists need to do better?
Exactly what you said. Our work tends to be private, siloed, as it's often described. In fact, we've changed how we do our professional development. It's been well understood now that both ethically and for mental health reasons, we now want people to to actually talk to each other, that we don't just go to a seminar, learn something, and go home. Mm-hmm. They want us to, the Board of Psychology understands that we need to talk to each other human to human, professional to professional. So to actually get out, be in the community, show up at things, show up at soup kitchens. You may not sit down and have this meaningful therapeutic conversation with someone, but your presence, your support, your acknowledgement, just being able to see another human being in distress and be present with them. I think we need to do a lot more of that. Mm-hmm. That's my hope, that we begin to do.
And what about psychologist to psychologist?
Oh, good point. What about it? I rarely talk to other psychologists except when I'm at a meeting.
I know. It's really difficult when you do private practice, especially because you're kind of in your own little bubble and you don't tend to see anybody else except for your clients or your loved ones. How can psychologists people together better?
Well, that's a great question. And if you had the answer to that,
I'd win $1 million.
Exactly, at least. I think that, well, let me backtrack a little bit. It's difficult for us to also talk about our work.
Yes.
We can't talk about our clients specifically, obviously. We can't talk about a lot of what we do. Do you golf? I mean, do we start talking to each other about hobbies, interests? And it's kind of like, it's almost like going on a first date. Mm-hmm. It's difficult for us to intermingle as psychologists, as fellow professionals, because the only thing that we have in common is something we can't talk about. Mm-hmm. That's kind of part of the problem. So I think we need to have events that are fun. I'm hoping that, for instance, we have a conference coming up in May, and I got a very nice jazz quartet, and we got some snacks. We're not doing a bar. There's a bar just down the hallway from where we're meeting. Just to hang out and talk, and maybe talk a little bit about the longevity of the agency, and then start telling war stories, et cetera, about where LACPA has been all this time. But it is tough to get a room of psychologists to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. We also have different, I think, some very tightly held, theoretical orientations or specialties that maybe we don't feel like other people relate to, or that might disagree with us. It's a weird profession to be in, actually, and have collegiality.
Yes. But I love this idea of joy and fun and celebration, because I think when people think about therapists, they're like, they listen to all day. And it's true. It is true. But that's not all we do. That's right. We definitely help, provide a different perspective to our clients. And that is something that can be applied to our intermingling together, is that really, what is the shared goal? And the shared goal is that we are here to help others. We're here to help ourselves. And it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. Right.
I know I'm doing good therapy with someone when we're having fun.
Yes.
It really is. There's a chord of joy to that growth, to that sharing. Yeah.
Well, I'm really looking forward to your presidency. I mean, it's already started, and you're already leading with, a great amount of, just passion and integrity. Give me some ideas on some specific initiatives that you're really hoping to implement, especially ones that promote inclusivity.
Yeah, that's like turning around a very large ship. It's going to take time. Mm-hmm. I think it has always been an ideal of our organization to be inclusive, but we don't always have the volunteers we need, the bandwidth, I guess, might be the term I'm looking for, to actually see that happen in the world. A couple of initiatives. Actually, one of them is a student-led one. We just voted on it this week. I think you may have gotten, sorry. Voting members of the board have to vote on this. I'm not a voting member. Sorry, dear. You should be, but the students proposed a DEI statement about, hey, we're aware that they didn't mention the government at all, but they meant current changes in the attitudes towards DEI is going to have a profound effect on us as professionals and certainly on our clients and the communities we serve. We find it to be harmful and essentially taking a stand in support of inclusivity. That's going to be part of what we I hate to use the word branding, but it's going to be in social media, it's going to be on our website, and we're going to send it to our members as something to keep in mind. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. We're doing more outreach, we're doing more collaborative events with other psychological organizations that have, for instance, the Asian American Psychological Association or the Iranian Psychological Association, cross-pollinating kinds of events. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to have more involvement with ABPSI, African American Organization of Psychologists. I'm actually a member, but it's been very difficult to get, believe it or not, a chapter in LA going. It's been dormant for decades.
Wow.
So professional collaborations. I know there's a couple of others in there, but they're not coming to mind at the moment.
Well, there's plenty on the horizon, for sure.
I hope so.
I would say also, even today, the importance of reducing stigma.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to getting mental health treatment. Where do we stand on that right now?
This gets back to, all cultures have some kind of stigma around needing help with sadness or anger or any of that stuff. There's something about supposedly the independence and agency of being an adult that makes that uncomfortable. But this culture in particular, Western culture, does see the inability to be fully functional, completely on your own, as some kind of character flaw. Mm-hmm. What we always minimize is the importance of circumstances, events, environmental pressures, intergenerational, genetic, and psychological transmission of trauma. We actually have a built-in social bias to see us and our peeps as being good, and if there's something wrong that happens, it's because of external circumstances. Mm-hmm. But we reverse that when we see somebody as other. Mm-hmm. We see them as inherently perhaps strange or odd, and if something is going wrong, it's because of some internal quality as opposed to external circumstances. Mm-hmm. That's a well-known social psych phenomenon, and that's part of it. We need to understand when you zoom out just a little bit and see the context of things, the perspective is very different.
Yes. I think our younger generation right now is way more in tune with being completely real with whatever's going on, mm-hmm. maybe to a greater degree than maybe is helpful for them sometimes. But I really admired it. And I actually had a young woman on my podcast, Francesca Reicheter, who is a multiple suicide attempt survivor.
Oh, wow.
And what she said really stuck with me is that when we ask, how are you?
Yeah.
Everyone's go-to is, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm good. And one of her greatest hopes in terms of reducing stigma around mental health is that people just were to answer that honestly and open up a conversation, then you realize how universal
Oh, yeah.
any struggle is. Mm-hmm. We're just kind of conditioned to just keep it, tamped down.
Yep.
And act as if we're okay. And I think it's so important that if we're going to reduce stigma around mental health, that we're just honest.
Honest means you got to be vulnerable, though, and people don't want to do that.
Yes. But vulnerability is a strength.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think once you do open up to you not necessarily being okay, it makes it okay for others to not be okay. So absolutely, I think, reducing stigma can be a big part of what we do as therapists.
Well, and I'm hoping that gives us some good fodder for things that we can do as an organization at LACPA to have some kind of more public forums in which we discuss this. Mm-hmm. I have, by the way, tried to answer people honestly, and they just like shut down.
Really?
I've tried it as an experiment a few times. And that includes, by the way, being utterly honest about how fabulous you're feeling. They still don't want to hear it. It's like, oh, okay, next.
Interesting.
Because we're
conditioned.
Yeah. This is particularly true in, of course, work settings and with acquaintances, but sometimes even with friends, I've noticed.
Yes. Speaking of work settings, at least from what I hear in my practice, those can be some of the most toxic environments in the world. How do you think LACPA might be able to help workplaces on an organizational level? Is that even a possibility?
Not on the immediate horizon. In fact, we don't have too many people in our organization. It would be nice if we could also attract, here's the other thing I would like about LACPA. We are seen somewhat accurately as being an organization of people who are in private practice, mostly on the West Side. And we don't attract people that work in agencies. We don't attract people who are in industrial organizational psych. And we could certainly use that kind of mentality around leadership, management, changing, taking this goes with stigma, changing the idea that the responsibility for things like self-care is on you. The organization itself should be doing an awful lot better at creating less stressful, more health supportive environments. So that's a distant future, I think, unfortunately. But
well,
I think
maybe not. Maybe somebody's listening to this who's in that and sees a space for them in Los Angeles. We certainly invite you because I think improving our workplaces. Oh yeah. Because I honestly think, aside from obviously relationship issues, our workplaces are a significant source of mental health distress.
Yeah. They can be a source of great support, but yes, most of the time they are not.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about our current culture, and government does not seem to be making that any better either.
No.
Doing away with essentially basic self-respect and respect for others.
Yes.
Let alone using such terms as diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes. Which I think is just really dangerous.
I think so.
That doesn't mean that we as people have to follow that.
No, and I think we've been doing a nice job of pushing back on that. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see some more.
Yes.
Well, speaking of future, what do you have on the horizon even after your presidency at LACPA? What do you hope for the after times?
if it's okay with me cross-pollinating with one of your podcasts, you had a guest earlier, Jazz Robbins. She's just unbelievable.
Yes.
And she's going to be our next president, so I'll be there to support whatever she wants. I'll do it. And I'm getting to the age where I'm almost 70, and I'm thinking of maybe slowing down a little, and so I'm not sure.
I can't see that happening.
So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's interesting. Anytime, some people are great at planning. They got their life all together. They know what they're going to do in 5 years, and they do it. I have never been like that. Anytime I make plans, something else comes up. So I never look too far into the future. I think I will try to continue to find that perfect balance of clinical work, assessment, and teaching, which I've never found. But I will back it off a little bit. I really enjoy traveling. In terms of LACPA, I would continue to support it as best I can. Really looking forward to Jazz's presidency.
Me too.
She's a firebrand. And,
Yes.
Yes,
she's amazing. Well, how can people find you to work with you?
I'm findable at, maybe I'll give you a card to show or something later, at Dr. Cris, no H in Chris, Dr. Cris and there's a weird name, triscaglione1.com. I'll end with describing what the heck is a Triscaglione. It's a 3-sided spiral that reminds me to work from a perspective of body, mind, and spirit. Or if you're a little bit more empirically oriented, from a biopsychosocial perspective.
Love it.
That's why I use it.
Love it. So we have a way to get a hold of Dr. Cris. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this
has been fun.
podcast. We learned a lot, not just about neuropsychology, but really about kind of more systemic issues that I think need to be brought up more often.
Yes.
Especially in today's climate. We really don't want to leave anyone behind or leave anyone out. That is certainly not our mission and our goal as psychologists or at LACPA. So we're really grateful for your presidency.
Thank you.
And where you're leading us this year, and I will be following.
I'm hoping so. We really need it.
Yes.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. I'm really looking forward to our next exciting interview, and I'm really hoping you join me next time. Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.